Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at the kind of story that it completely flips the script on that glossy, aspirational idea of moving abroad.
It really does.
We're looking at a 6-year, high-stakes life gamble. It's the journey of one man who went from managing high-value clients in a Chinese bank to, well, to hauling shingles on a Canadian rooftop.
And this is the ultimate reality check, I think, for anyone who sees immigration as just, a simple career change. We're tracking the true cost financial, physical, and psychological of committing everything you have.
And then being defeated, not by a lack of effort, not by a lack of intelligence, but by these huge external forces like a sudden, completely unpredictable shift in government policy.
Exactly.
So that's our mission today, to really understand why a smart, educated man who willingly gave up a high-status job to find work-life balance ended up working 11-hour days of manual labor.
6 days a week.
6 days a week. And what his story tells us about immigration as as the source calls it, a deep game.
A very deep game. And to set the stage, you have to understand the stakes. This wasn't a small move.
No. He liquidated major assets. He sold his home in Guangdong to fund this dream. The estimated loss by the time he came back was somewhere between 300,000 and 500,000 Canadian dollars.
And just to be clear, that's not just tuition fees. That's the total cost, the entire gamble.
The magnitude of that investment it's key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't just unhappy with his job.
No, he was willing to burn his bridges, sell his home. I mean, this was a total life disruption to escape what he was running from.
Okay, so let's unpack that escape. What was he running from in the banking world? The source material paints a pretty vivid picture, calling it a life soaked in wine.
It was classic burnout, but a very specific kind. It was tailored to that high-pressure, intensely social finance world in China. His biggest complaint was this extreme weariness with the social side of things.
The obligation.
The constant, non-negotiable social obligations. These weren't just, optional happy hours. They were mandatory, absolutely critical for your career.
And the details of why he felt like he was failing there are so interesting. It wasn't about his grasp of economics. It was all about his social performance.
Yes.
He said he felt like he lacked what's the phrase? The wuche.
That phrase, wuche, is so important here. It's not just being polite. It's this fluid, almost innate social intelligence, the ability to read a room, to anticipate what your boss needs before they do.
He was criticized for failing what you might call the tea test, right? Like not being skilled enough at pouring tea.
That and the expression test. Not being able to read his leader's facial cues at a dinner. He was just failing the social calculus. And in that environment, that failure is more damaging than, a bad investment.
And the physical toll of all this was just brutal.
Well, it was staggering. He talks about these periods where he'd be drinking until 3 in the morning, 3 nights in a row, in a single week.
Wow.
And the result, unsurprisingly, was rapid weight gain, obesity. His body was just rebelling against the job.
It sounds so humiliating. He didn't feel like a professional. He described himself as a runner or a lackey.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine waiting in the car from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. during a dinner? Just waiting.
Yeah.
So you can drive the boss to KTV later.
It's fundamentally broken for his well-being. And that's why his goal was so specific. He wasn't chasing a fortune in Canada. He was chasing a defined life.
8 hours of work.
8 hours of work, a good enough income for a car and a house, and this was the holy grail, a true 2-day weekend.
So he sees some classmates who studied abroad. They seem to have this life, and that's the trigger. He insists on making this huge effort, what he calls hit Padawan.
Right, even though his mother was against it.
Yeah.
He sells his house, funds the whole move himself, and arrives in Toronto in 2019 ready for a completely new start.
And he's strategic. He knows banking is out. He picks network technology, IT. It's totally unrelated to his past, but it promises a good income.
He was planning his path to permanent residence, to PR, from day one. He was thinking ahead.
And this is where that huge investment, up to $500,000, starts to get spent. On expensive international student fees, on living costs. But then, just as he gets going, the world changes.
The timing couldn't have been worse. The COVID-19 pandemic hits. All his classes go online. And this is where, strangely enough, that old burnout dynamic comes right back.
You'd think that would be a relief for him, right? I mean, he hated the high-pressure social stuff. Now he's isolated, alone with a computer. Why was that worse?
Because the isolation led directly to academic failure. which threatened his entire plan. Back in banking, he failed the social test. Here, he was failing the academic test. He
Oh,
was really struggling with the IT coursework, and that stress, combined with being totally alone, it led straight to self-doubt and then to depression. He couldn't keep up.
so he's failing. He's isolated.
Mm.
And he makes this huge pragmatic pivot, not for passion, but for survival.
Pure survival. An international department teacher advises him to switch majors. The goal: get into in-person classes to beat the depression and just get a degree, any degree, to secure that work permit.
So he switches from network technology to baking.
The cognitive leap there is just immense, isn't it? From finance to IT to mixing dough. And he's totally honest about it.
Hmm?
He did not love baking.
No.
It was a purely strategic move, a compromise, just to check the boxes he needed to check for his permanent residency application.
That is the brutal reality of the immigration game, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't choose a career because you love it. You choose it because the government has decided it's a pathway.
You sacrifice personal fulfillment for procedural certainty. And for a while, it actually worked. He graduated, he got a job as a sous chef in Banff, working in pastry. It was a qualified job. It met all the requirements.
But then the physical toll comes back, but in a new way.
Mm.
He'd traded the late-night drinking for something else just as punishing.
The physical cost was immediate. The job required these really long, early shifts, starting at 4 in the morning, every day.
4 a.m.
Yeah. And that constant exhaustion, the broken sleep, it brought back the depressive symptoms. So he's achieved the immigration requirement, but he's completely betrayed his original goal of finding work-life balance.
You just traded one toxic system for another? The stress of social anxiety for the stress of sleep deprivation? But he's on the path. He's invested $500,000, years of his life, and then the policy hammer drops.
This is the moment. This is where policy volatility just completely overrides all that personal sacrifice. He was playing by the rules, stacking up his points for express entry, and the government just changed the game halfway through.
So walk us through how that works, because this is where the complexity just defeats him.
Okay, so express entry uses a point system. You get points for age, education, work experience, and so on. What happened was his occupation chef was suddenly added into the skilled trades category pool.
So he's now competing with welders, HVAC technicians.
Exactly. Fields with really high barriers to entry, fields with a history of very strong applicants. So the competition in his pool just exploded overnight.
So his score, his 470 points, which he thought was a safe bet.
It was a great score. Should have been more than enough based on the pre-pandemic cutoffs. But this one change, it caused the minimum required score to surge past 500 points.
Wow.
Overnight. His score, which should have been safe, was suddenly 30 points too low.
This is where he uses that metaphor that is just it's so powerful.
It is. He said he thought of his 470 points as prepared dry rations, enough to get him through the journey. He'd planned everything so carefully.
Right.
But then the policy flood, which was triggered by all the post-pandemic immigration shifts, it just instantly raised the riverbed height. His rations were useless. They were submerged.
That just perfectly captures that feeling of defeat. You prepare for everything you can control, only to be sunk by a force you can't even see coming. What do you even do after that?
Well, his next move was, it was a mix of desperation and incredible resilience. He tried to pivot again. He targeted highly specialized trades like HVAC.
Heating and ventilation.
Right. He figured, okay, these fields have higher barriers to entry. Maybe that's the new path.
Third time's the charm.
Unfortunately, no. This road was a dead end. He ran into this brutal, bureaucratic catch-22. In Alberta, to even apply for an HVAC apprenticeship, you needed one of two things.
Okay.
Either you already had to have PR status, or you needed specific schooling that he just hadn't taken.
So he couldn't get the training to get the PR because he didn't have the PR to get the training.
Exactly. He couldn't even get an interview. Every long-term path was just completely blocked.
So with every door slamming shut and his work permit ticking down to expiration, he's forced into survival mode.
Total survival mode. These are the last grinding months. He starts taking any job he can find just to pay rent. Low barrier, high intensity physical work.
Roof repair, carpentry, delivery driving.
Jobs that require zero credentials, but just immense physical output.
And the schedule he was working. I mean, it's unbelievable. 11 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's so much worse than the banking job he ran away from.
And with none of the rewards. The physical change tells the whole story. He lost 20 kilograms in 6 months.
20 kilos.
This is a former bank manager now hauling shingles up a ladder just to make rent while his legal status evaporated.
And that's the profound irony, isn't it? His life had completely betrayed his original goal. He fled the bank to escape exhaustion and found an even more extreme version of it.
And critically, without PR, he never got into mainstream society. He never got the welfare, the benefits. He was stuck at the bottom in this intense bottom-level involution, just working harder and harder for less and less.
With no security, no overtime pay, no insurance.
Nothing. He was just competing at the very bottom of the labor market to survive. And I think that's when the realization hit. This life in Canada, it had lost all meaning.
He was depleted,
Mhm.
physically, psychologically. The future was gone.
So he made the only rational choice left. He accepted defeat. He'd gambled and lost 6 of his golden years, from age 28 to 34, a critical time for anyone's career.
And he'd gone from a respectable financial professional to a roofer.
It's the ultimate career reversal, a complete inversion of his life.
So what was the thing that finally gave him the cushion, the permission to quit and go home?
It was the one asset he couldn't sell. His family, that unwavering support. His parents told him, come back, we always have food for you at home.
That's the safety net.
That's the safety net. That knowledge, plus just this deep desire to stop the struggle and be with his parents after 6 years of chaos, that's what made the decision final.
So when you, our listener, hear this story, what's the lesson? What does this mean for anyone considering their own huge life change?
I think Liu Yang's story is probably the most detailed, most difficult reality check on aspirational immigration we could possibly find. It proves this isn't just about changing countries, it's a deep game.
Bilgi Man's deep planning, policy insight.
And enormous psychological resilience. And the thing is, he had all of that. He was smart, he was strategic, he pivoted twice, he did everything right.
He met the criteria, he made the sacrifices. Why did he still fail?
Because the final crucial takeaway from his story is that luck, specifically, the volatility of government policy played the decisive role. His strategy was perfect for the game being played in 2019.
But the rules changed.
The rules changed. He was building his future on shifting sand, and the one thing he couldn't plan for was the government changing the bedrock itself.
The banker who sought balance but found chaos. He paid a catastrophic price for a dream that was perfectly planned but derailed by something completely outside of his control.
Indeed. And it leaves you with a really tough question. If strategic planning, massive financial investment, and extreme physical sacrifice were not enough to guarantee his success, what critical element do you think people are most likely to underestimate when they embark on their own life-changing gambles?
It's that weight of volatility, isn't it?
Yeah.
How a single institutional decision can completely negate years of your life. That's a thought that will stick with you. Thank you for diving into these sources with us today. We'll be back next time for another deep dive.